you play in a couple interesting chamber groups, guitar and saxophone, and then guitar and double bass.
Right.
How did those come about? Did you just sit down one day and say, "I'm going to play with the bass player today"? Or
Right. Yeah, I've decided my niche is going to be bizarre chamber ensembles. No, it actually is mostly it's like a personal thing. The double bass player actually is someone that I grew up with, played in rock bands with, even in middle school and high school. So we're like really old friends. And it's kind of an interesting story. He, we both went off to conservatory for music school in college. And we sort of lost touch after high school, maybe about almost 10 years that we were out of touch. And then he was going to North Texas, which is probably a lot of people know, a really famous jazz school. He was studying actually classical bass there, but he also plays a lot of jazz. And I happened to be playing a concert there with my saxophone duo. This was a number of years ago now. And I just sort of saw his name, this old friend of mine's name on a bulletin board. So I thought, I didn't realize, Craig was still in town. So I called him up and he came to the concert and, we just kind of got talking about what we'd been up to. And so that's why we decided to play together. It's more like just because we're good friends and we have a long musical history together. So it seemed like an obvious choice to play together. And at first I have to say I was pretty skeptical about that duo, the combination and what repertoire we play. But I've been pretty happy with how it's turned out. We've done a lot of playing and it seems to get a good response. The other duo, my saxophone guitar duo, has been around. We've been playing for, I guess, about 6 or 7 years now. And that's with Joe Murphy, who's the saxophone teacher at Mansfield University, where I also teach. And that was sort of, in fact, I remember when I interviewed for the job at Mansfield, he was on the committee, the hiring committee, and he actually just asked me on the interview, would you be interested in playing in a guitar and saxophone duo? And so, of course, I said yes, definitely. Although, actually, because of my jazz history, I was friends with a lot of saxophonists that, in fact, had played quite a bit of with classical music with saxophone, as strange as that sounds, in my undergrad and grad school. There's not that many pieces for that grouping, but I had played most of them already. So it seemed like an obvious choice, and so we've been playing together then ever since, and have a pretty active schedule. We've done some recording, and that's the group that we've done a lot of commissioning of new works, just because, like the bass duo, there's just not that much repertoire out there, but we're trying to change that. So.
Yeah. Are there any technical considerations for these duos? Like, do you have to amplify or anything like that, or what do you use to do that?
Yeah, with the saxophone, it's mostly, I would say, 90% on alto saxophone, which is much louder than the soprano saxophone, and the register doesn't blend maybe quite as well with the classical guitar. So yeah, I definitely always amplify when I play with the saxophone duo. With the bass duo, I didn't want to amplify at first, but I have been using a little bit. It's not very much, but just a tiny bit, so that I keep my nails, because otherwise it's like playing a concerto all the time. You start kind of pounding and playing too hard, and I just thought it was nicer to have be able to be a little more subtle and not worry so much about the balance all the time. So we do amplify with that group as well.
Yeah. What guitar do you use? Or what guitars do you play?
I use I only actually have one guitar, a Dammann, a 1998 Dammann, which I've used for a long time now. I guess I've had it for 8 years. So, yeah, I'm pretty much in love with that guitar.
Yeah. What made you choose him over other luthiers?
Well, I had been playing a more traditional style guitar for a long time. I played a really beautiful 1971 Velasquez for quite a few years before that. And I really enjoyed that guitar. It was really beautiful, but I found it to be a little underpowered, and I had started playing a lot more chamber music, and I don't know. I was ready for a change. I had played traditional guitars for a long time, and I had a lot of friends that were playing Smallmans, so I tried those out, and it wasn't quite for me, but I liked having all that sound. It was a really exciting thing, and so I was kind of trying out all those different. The newer style of bracing and all that, and I found a Dammann. They're hard to find, but I found one and I really loved it, so I jumped on it. And now it's hard for me to play anything else.
Yeah.
I play a lot of chamber music too, so for chamber music, it's really great because it's got a lot more sound than a traditional guitar, and even playing with even just playing with flute or violin, it's a little bit easier to do it and not have to amplify. But it just you feel like you've got a lot more to work with. So I really like that, and I also. I like the volume, but also I find the tone of the Dammanns are particularly beautiful, and mine in particular, I really like it. So
yeah, Dammanns are double tops, right? Like the sandwich tops.
Exactly.
Is the tone different from like a traditional guitar at all?
It is. I mean, it's less different from a traditional guitar, I find, than a Smallman is, for example. And I'm not too versed in all the technicalities of building, but. I just comparing them side by side, I found the Dammann's tone to be a little more similar to kind of the guitar tone that I was used to,
Yeah.
and so I liked that. Yeah, and I think it's really an individual case. Like you can try out two Smallmans or two Dammanns or two Velasquez's for that matter, and they can be completely different, of course. So
Yeah.
the particular one that I've got is kind of got everything I'm looking for. So
yeah.